Hello. Physics for All requires that we teachers have 10 years of deliberate practice to learn deep content and how to teach it effectively so that students will enjoy physics so much that they'll want to keep learning it all their lives, and so that they'll convince other students in their high school to take physics. As Eugenia Etkin said on June 9th to this group, young people are natural learners, and we need to enhance their ability to learn in ways that she described in her talk: thinking like a physicist, evidence-based thinking, building and refining scientific models, system thinking. Eugenia's investigative science learning environment, that is ISLE and POOM, are super compatible with modeling instruction, our program. Physics teachers need professional development in these two outstanding programs. I'm going to touch on legislation, so I speak in this talk as a private citizen. My views are my own. In this talk, I don't represent any institution or organization. And by the way, would you like a PDF of this talk? If so, email me, jane.jackson@asu.edu. ASU stands for Arizona State University, of course. What's troubling is that science teacher professional development has declined in recent years. Horizon Research has documented the decline. Why has it declined? Because the federal government ended crucial professional development programs, making professional development much too expensive. Chief among the programs that served physics teachers was the U.S. Department of Education's 2.5% set aside for colleges, that is, institutions of higher education, in their formula Title IIA grants to each state. Arizona used to get $1 million every year on this. Well, we must work to reinstate the higher education set aside and target it for STEM teachers. That seems to be the easiest approach to increase free professional development opportunities, because it involves amending just a few paragraphs of existing legislation. But first, why do we physics teachers need 10 years of deliberate practice to become experts? I quote David Hessness, co-founder of Modeling Instruction. In 1995 to 2000, he had a huge NSF grant for leadership modeling workshops for 200 expert teachers nationwide. He said to a group of 50 of them in their third summer at ASU in 1997 the following, I quote, Researcher K. Anders Ericsson has studied development of expertise in a wide variety of activities, from chess playing and concert playing to performance in many fields of endeavor. He doesn't talk specifically about teaching, but he comes up with some general features of those people who become expert. They are universal across the different domains. Let me review the main points. The first point is that it takes a long time to become expert in any complex domain. In fact, the time period is about 10 years. Consider a person devoting all his time to playing chess. He may be a young prodigy or start later. There is an advantage to starting young, but it still takes about 10 years before you can perform at the level of the outstanding experts. But 10 years isn't enough by itself. Another of Ericsson's conclusions is that experience doesn't necessarily produce improvement. So just because you have 10 years of teaching, it doesn't mean that you are any better a teacher than you were when you started out. In fact, with respect to concert playing with musical instruments, he has data that show that just performing in concert doesn't improve your skill. What does improve your skill? It is what Ericsson calls deliberate practice, and that is examination of your own performance and asking how you can improve it, then taking specific steps to improve. That's what we're trying to help you do in the modeling workshops. Deliberate practice over 10 years is as necessary to become an expert in teaching as in any other field. Did you know about K. K. Anders Ericsson research, I had no idea when I was teaching physics. I wish I'd known. It would have motivated me to seek in-depth professional development. I would have been a better teacher. Well, in David Hessness's NSF grant, the 200 physics teachers gave the force concept inventory as baseline post-tests to their students before they took their first 4-week summer modeling workshop, and then after the workshops as pre-tests and post-tests. Results showed that modeling instruction is highly effective pedagogy. Its effect size is large, 0.9, satisfying the What Works clearinghouse standard for effectiveness. So modeling workshops are deliberate practice. Now, I have 23 years of experience writing grants for physics modeling workshops. I have ideas on how the physics teacher community can work to restore affordable professional development that is deliberate practice, working toward our vision of physics for all. Here's my story. In addition to overseeing the 200 teachers in leadership modeling workshops in David's grant, I wrote grants yearly since 1998 for Arizona teachers to have summer modeling workshops at ASU. Until 2005, I got $50,000 a year in the federal Title IIA Eisenhower Math and Science program of the U.S. Department of Education. Each year, I served 24 physics and physical science teachers. Teachers got stipends and free ASU tuition. Their enrollment increased, sometimes a lot. The effect size was huge, again, for this group. In general, Eisenhower grants were $50,000 per year, and the entire state of Arizona was served in 15 to 20 grants each year by faculty at Arizona's 3 universities who were passionate about science. Faculty volunteered, hosting up to 25 teachers each. The Eisenhower program worked well. In 2000, David Hessness got another big NSF grant to expand modeling workshops to other states. So in addition to my Arizona professional development work, I built an informal network of 24 college physics faculty in 18 states. And I helped them get Eisenhower grants for modeling workshops in their locale. These grants were typically $50,000 a year. And some of the 200 teachers in David Hessness's first NSF grant led the workshops. In fact, they helped me get the faculty. The workshops helped alleviate the nationwide shortage of qualified high school physics teachers. The faculty are listed at our website, modeling.asu.edu. Now, the Eisenhower program was replaced in 2004 by the Title IIA Improving Teacher Quality Program in No Child Left Behind. That's the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, ESEA. Unfortunately, the professional development focus was broadened, in other words, diluted, to all core subjects in K-12, and further diluted by adding professional development for principals. Some states chose to narrow it to focus only on high poverty school districts, disregarding the extreme shortage of physics teachers at schools of all socioeconomic levels. These changes made the program worse for physics. Grants got bigger and fewer, and less money went to teachers. More money went to administration and evaluation. It became harder for physics faculty to get grants. They were all volunteers. This is important. The result was disastrous for physics teacher professional development in some locales. For example, St. Louis, Missouri, where the professor was denied funding because not enough of his physics participants taught in high poverty schools. Within a few years, hardly any physics faculty could get grants from the Improving Teacher Quality Program. It was too diluted and too restrictive and too focused on high poverty schools, and it didn't pay enough attention to the dearth of physics teachers. At ASU, we did thrive until 2010. Our yearly grant increased to $250,000 in 2006, and we served 100 teachers each summer. But I could no longer do the work as a volunteer because I had to add chemistry and junior high physical science in order to get the grant. So my workload got too big. It was an inefficient use of funds. I had to hire staff, hard to get because short-term, risky one-year grants, thus personnel were not assured of continuation. And after 2010, we at ASU were cut out of the grant process completely because the Arizona Board of Regents decided to fund only math in 1 year and only elementary school principals in another year. Their entire $1 million went for those things. They were running scared because by 2010, the federal government was threatening to end the program. And so the Arizona grant managers wanted to get the biggest bang for the buck. They wanted to improve their test scores statewide, because math is what is tested. By 2015, only Ohio was still able to get improving teacher quality funding. Ohio had a wise higher education agency who recognized the long-term systemic need for physics. But in December 2015, the Improving Teacher Quality program ended. No Child Left Behind was replaced by ESSA, the Every Student Succeeds Act. The 2.5% set aside ended, period. The Ohio Modeling Workshop physics enrollment in physics went from 100 down to 0 in the space of 1 year, nothing. So now the federal government provides no money for colleges to organize professional development for teachers. Instead of teachers getting a stipend, they must pay almost $800 for a 3-week summer modeling workshop hosted by the American Modeling Teachers Association, AMTA. This is too expensive for many public school teachers to pay out of pocket, and their schools don't have enough Title II-A funds to pay from the formula grant. So private school teachers are the predominant participants. Now, what about us at ASU? For the past 10 years, we've existed on donations from local businesses. This is a very time-consuming process, writing grants, and donations are much less than $50,000, typically $15,000 to fund 50 to 60 teachers. So I get $15,000 a year. Few corporations give, and they don't give much. It's foolish of the federal government to rely on corporate gifts for teacher professional development. I work almost full-time, but there's no grant to pay me, so I volunteer. We had to stop offering professional development in physical science because recruiting 8th and 9th grade teachers was too hard since they got no stipend, no tuition waiver. Free tuition is a powerful incentive. At ASU, teachers must pay $400 for our modeling workshops for non-credit. Or if they want ASU graduate credit, they must pay $2,200 tuition for one course. To help them, I write grants to local companies each year, and I get typically $15,000 in donations. It's time-consuming and unproductive. I couldn't even convince my bank to give $1,000 this year. Bottom line, no program is left from the federal government that can fund summer professional development for physics teachers. This bodes ill for the nation's future economy, since high school physics is the chief STEM pathway to STEM careers and STEM majors in college. But looking more widely, we need thinkers in this nation, as Eugenia Etkin has said. Everyone is in some sense a physicist. We all encounter physics every day and everywhere. And societally, we must face the global climate crisis. What kind of world will young people inherit? Ultimately, we need to love this physical planet so that we'll preserve it and honor it. Understanding physical reality in physics can be a path to loving it. Physics for all. I have 3 practical suggestions for the U.S. Department of Education to restore funding deliberate practice, that is, meaningful, effective teacher professional development that includes physics. Number 1, make it affordable and attractive. Return to the basic ideas of the Eisenhower program. A set aside in state formula grants for Title II-A, a focus on science, a focus on deep content with effective pedagogy, open to all socioeconomic strata, free tuition and/or stipends. Number 2, require small grants. Huge grants are counterproductive. They benefit fewer teachers and they waste money on administration and evaluation. Grants are risky and short-term, making it hard to hire personnel. Better to spend the money farther by having $50,000 to $100,000 grants. This would enhance the volunteer local aspects. Physics and chemistry faculty are willing to volunteer to organize a summer 3-week workshop for 20 teachers. My third recommendation, prioritize high school physics and chemistry, the two core sciences that interface most closely with college and technical post-secondary trade schools. Legislation for teacher professional development is quite simple. A few short paragraphs, as you've seen in the slides. Politicians, staff experts can write the legislation, but advocating for it is a task for physics leaders like Eric Mazur, who have connections in Washington, D.C., and for organizations like the AMTA and the AAPT, and networks like this one, the PoLS-T network. This is policy, not politics. In conclusion, I've tried to show here what is possible. We must do something, and restoring the Title IIA set aside for higher education seems the easiest way to restore local professional development in physics that is deliberate practice. Of course, it should be on a higher turn of the spiral, requiring research-validated strategies like modeling instruction and Eugenia Etkin's ISLE. Ideally, both professional development together in continuous improvement. If you'd like a PDF of this talk, reply to me at jane.jackson@asu.edu. Modeling instruction is described at modeling.asu.edu. Web links to ISLE and PUM and many other web links are on the web page called Web Links for Modelers there. Thank you.